You quote the, great James Baldwin at the beginning of, and I'll just hold it up, How to Love a Country. It's such a wonderful articulation. Baldwin writes, and you quote, the role of the artist is exactly the same as the role of the lover. If I love you, I have to make you conscious of the things you don't see. I think that just contains multitudes, but it gets at it's an act of love, it's an act of passion, but there's a desire to connect. And I think for people that don't understand art or want to understand it better, that's the impulse, right? To create community with a small c or a big C, but this notion of using words, using our creative capacity to unite, as opposed to, which maybe is a very blunt way of separating what politics does, right? The art of dividing and separating. Art at its base is always trying to extend the conversation and open a dialogue.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right. In so many ways. Couple of things. I think we've also noticed, right? I wouldn't say it's a renaissance, but we've also seen over the past 2 decades, right? Going back a bit, how poetry has had more and more of a place in our society. I see it in at the university where I teach. It naturally starts filling in that need, right? Because exactly like you said, the 24-hour news reels, they abstract all these issues. They don't really inform, right? So what does an artist do? She or they put a real name, a real face, real tears, real laughter, to these abstract issues. And then suddenly that becomes a lot harder to deny, or at least it also opens up another kind of dialogue or another kind of experience. And That's what I try to do in my work. Every poet is a little bit different in how they negotiate the poetics of protest versus the poetics of unity, right? So I always, in my book, I always try to think, that a poem should more unite than divide, or it should open up another door. I mean, sometimes we have to state the problem, right? But I don't like the poem to just stay in the problem, right? That it has to sort of, that's what artists do. They offer perhaps a little bit of light at the end of tunnel. And even if that's just here, hey, have you ever thought about it this way?